Have you ever felt the sting of rejection so deeply that it changed your life? Imagine finding out your closest friend is getting married, but your invitation never arrives. Then picture this: your teenage daughter walking into that same wedding wearing a dress that leaves everyone speechless, a dress with a story that would unravel 15 years of misunderstandings. Stay with me until the end to discover how a simple piece of fabric rewrote the ending to a friendship I thought was lost forever. Welcome to Plot Twist Life, where real stories of unexpected turns remind us that life is never quite what it seems. Today's story is about betrayal, misunderstandings, and how the truth has a way of surfacing when you least expect it. Before we dive into this emotional journey, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more incredible true stories that will make you question everything you thought you knew about human relationships. Hit that notification bell so you never miss the moment when ordinary lives take extraordinary turns. I still remember the day I realized I wasn't invited to Caroline's wedding. It wasn't like I found out through social media or heard it from a mutual friend. No, I discovered it in the most painful way possible, watching my sister try on her bridesmaid dress in our parents' living room. What do you think? She twirled around, the emerald green fabric catching the afternoon light. Caroline wanted something that would complement the fall colors. I stood there frozen, my coffee mug suspended halfway to my lips. Caroline was my best friend since middle school. We'd been inseparable for almost 2 decades. We'd made a pact when we were 16, giggling under the stars at summer camp, promising to be each other's maid of honor someday. When did Caroline get engaged? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. My sister's expression shifted from excitement to confusion, then to something worse, pity. About 6 months ago. The wedding's next month. I thought you knew. 6 months. Caroline had been engaged for 6 months, and I hadn't heard a word about it. No excited phone call. No text message with a ring photo. Nothing, of course. I lied, setting down my mug before my trembling hands could betray me. I just didn't realize it was so soon. That night, I scrolled through Caroline's Instagram for the first time in years. There it was, evidence of a life that had continued without me. Photos of her engagement party, posts about venue hunting, a picture of her with 5 women labeled, "Couldn't say yes without my girls." My sister was there, smiling. I was not. Our friendship had cooled over the past few years, but I never thought it had died completely. We'd grown up together, shared every secret, helped each other through every heartbreak. When my husband left me with a 2-year-old daughter, Caroline had been there every day for months, bringing meals, watching Emma so I could shower or sleep. What had happened? What invisible line had I crossed? The questions kept me awake that night, and many nights after. I didn't confront her. Pride, perhaps, or fear of confirming what seemed increasingly obviously no longer mattered to the person who had once known me better than I knew myself. Instead, I told myself it didn't matter. I had my daughter, my career, my life. One wedding, one friendship. These weren't things to fall apart over at 35. Emma was 15 now, a thoughtful teenager with her father's analytical mind and, thankfully, little of his selfishness. She noticed something was wrong immediately. "Mom, you're doing that thing with your eyebrows," she said over breakfast, a week after my sister's revelation. "What thing?" "That thing where you're trying to look normal, but you're actually upset about something." I sighed. Having a perceptive child was both a blessing and a curse. "It's nothing important." "Is it about Aunt Caroline's wedding?" I nearly choked on my toast. "How do you know about that?" Emma shrugged, her attention seemingly focused on buttering her own toast with scientific precision. "Aunt Melissa mentioned it when she picked me up from soccer practice yesterday. She seemed weird about it, like she was sorry she brought it up." I nodded, uncertain what to say. Emma and Caroline had been close once. Caroline had been like a second mother to her in those early years. But as Emma grew and our lives diverged, those visits became less frequent, then rare, then stopped altogether. "Did you and Aunt Caroline have a fight?" Emma asked, her eyes still on her toast. "No," I said truthfully. That was what made it all so confusing. There had been no argument, No dramatic falling out. Just a slow, inexplicable drift that had apparently reached its inevitable conclusion. Sometimes people just grow apart. Emma looked unconvinced, but dropped the subject. 3 weeks later, I was helping Emma clean out her closet, a quarterly tradition she approached with spreadsheets and color-coded sorting bins. When she pulled out a garment bag from the back, "What's this?" she asked, unzipping it halfway before I could answer. Inside was a dress I hadn't seen in 15 years. A vintage 1950s cocktail dress with a sweetheart neckline and full skirt, in a shade of deep burgundy that looked almost black until it caught the light. Small glass beads formed an intricate pattern across the bodice, catching the light as Emma pulled it out completely. "Oh," I breathed. That was a gift. From Caroline." The memory flooded back, vivid and bittersweet. Carolyn and I had been shopping at a vintage store the weekend before my wedding. She'd spotted the dress and insisted I try it on. It had fit perfectly, and when I'd emerged from the dressing room, Caroline had gasped dramatically. "That's it," she'd declared. "That's your reception dress. Something more comfortable for dancing after the ceremony." When I'd checked the price tag and balked, she'd waved away my concerns. "Consider it yours, something old. Every bride needs one." I never got to wear it. 2 days before the wedding, my fiancé Emma's father had confessed to an affair with a coworker. The wedding was called off. Caroline had stayed with me through it all, helping me return gifts, cancel vendors, notify guests. The dress had been forgotten in the chaos. "It's beautiful," Emma said, holding it up against herself. "Why don't you ever wear it?" "It's from another lifetime," I said softly. "Before your father and I split up." Emma was quiet for a moment, studying the dress with newfound interest. "Can I try it on?" I hesitated. The dress was beautiful but weighted with history. Still, it seemed a shame to leave it forgotten in a garment bag. "Sure," I finally said. When Emma emerged from the bathroom wearing the dress, I couldn't speak. She looked so grown up, so suddenly like the woman she would become rather than the child she had been. The dress fit her perfectly, as if it had been made for her rather than for me all those years ago. "Well," she prompted, when I'd been silent too long. "You look beautiful," I managed, blinking back unexpected tears. Emma studied herself in the mirror, turning this way and that. "I need a dress for Aunt Melissa's birthday dinner next weekend," she said carefully. "Could I wear this?" I nodded. "Of course. If you want to." What I didn't know then was that my sister's birthday dinner was at the same restaurant where Caroline was having her rehearsal dinner. I didn't know that my sister had been keeping this information from me, trying to spare my feelings while maintaining both friendships. I didn't know that Caroline had never stopped asking about me, about Emma, about our lives. The night of the dinner, Emma spent hours getting ready. I smiled at her excitement, chalking it up to teenage vanity and the novelty of wearing such a special dress. She looked stunning when she was finished, her hair styled in loose waves, a touch of mascara and lip gloss, her only makeup. The burgundy dress made her pale skin glow. "Have fun," I told her as my sister arrived to pick her up. "Take pictures for me." 3 hours later, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, Caroline was standing on my porch, tears streaming down her face, smudging her perfect wedding makeup. Behind her, I could see Emma and my sister waiting in a car at the curb, both watching anxiously. "That dress," Caroline said, her voice breaking. "Emma was wearing the dress I gave you." I nodded, my throat suddenly tight. "I've been looking for you for 13 years, she continued, the words tumbling out now. "Since you disappeared after the birth. I called hospitals. I hired a private investigator. Your parents wouldn't tell me anything. They said you'd made it clear you wanted nothing to do with me, with any of us from before." I stared at her, uncomprehending. "What are you talking about? I never disappeared. I never said anything like that." Caroline wiped at her tears, smearing her makeup further. "After Emma was born, after the postpartum depression, your mother told everyone you'd moved away, started fresh. When I kept calling, kept coming by, she finally said you'd specifically asked not to be contacted by me, that our friendship was too tied to painful memories. The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. "That's not true," I whispered. "I never said that. I was in the hospital for a few weeks. When I came home, I called you, but your number was disconnected. I emailed you, but the emails bounced back. I thought you'd decided I was too much trouble." Caroline's eyes widened. "I changed my number because of that stalker, remember? The guy from the coffee shop who wouldn't leave me alone. I sent you a card with my new contact information. Your mother said she'd give it to you." Piece by piece, the puzzle came together. My mother, thinking she was protecting me during my most vulnerable time, had made a decision that altered the course of our lives. Perhaps she'd genuinely believed that a clean break from my past was what I needed to heal. Perhaps she'd never intended for the separation to be permanent. "I thought you didn't want me in your life anymore," Caroline said softly. "And eventually, I tried to respect that, even though it broke my heart." "I thought the same about you," I admitted, tears finally spilling over. We stood there on my porch, 15 years of misunderstandings between us, until Emma approached cautiously from the car. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked, looking between us. Caroline turned to her with a watery smile. "No, sweetheart, you did something perfectly right." Emma had recognized the dress from old photos, she explained later. She'd heard enough snippets of conversation between my sister and me to piece together that something had happened with Caroline, something no one would explain to her. So she'd done what teenagers do best, she'd taken matters into her own hands. "I knew Aunt Caroline would be at the restaurant," she confessed. "Aunt Melissa didn't know I knew. I overheard her talking on the phone about having to leave early to get to the rehearsal dinner. I thought if Aunt Caroline saw me in the dress, maybe she'd remember you. Remember us." That night, Caroline stayed at my house until dawn. The two of us talking, crying, laughing, piecing together 15 years of separate lives. She showed me wedding photos of the husband I'd never met. I showed her Emma's baby albums, school pictures, soccer trophies. We mourned the time we'd lost, the milestones we'd missed in each other's lives. The next day, I received a hand-delivered invitation to Caroline's wedding. Not a last-minute addition out of pity or obligation, but a beautifully calligraphed envelope that had been sitting in her desk drawer for 6 months, undelivered because she hadn't known how to find me. My mother's intentions had been good, if misguided. During my postpartum depression, I'd said many things I didn't mean, expressed wishes to start over, to escape my old life. She'd taken those words to heart, becoming the gatekeeper she thought I needed. By the time I was well enough to reconnect with my old life, the damage had been done. The misunderstandings calcified into accepted truths. 2 days later, I sat in the back row of a small chapel, watching Caroline walk down the aisle toward her future. Emma sat beside me, wearing a different dress but beaming with the satisfaction of a master strategist whose plan had worked perfectly. At the reception, Caroline pulled me onto the dance floor, both of us laughing as we tried to remember the choreographed routine we'd created for her wedding day back when we were young and thought we had everything figured out. "You know," she said, as we caught our breath after a particularly enthusiastic twirl, "I have a proposition for you." "Oh," I raised an eyebrow. "My company's expanding, opening a new branch in the city. I need someone I trust to run it. Someone organized, detail-oriented, not afraid of a challenge." She gave me a meaningful look. "Sound like anyone you know?" I stared at her. I'd been working as an office manager for a dental practice for the past decades. Stable work that paid the bills but did little to excite me. Caroline's company, a successful event planning business she'd built from scratch, had always sounded like a dream job to me. "Are you serious?" I asked. "Dead serious," she replied. "It's about time we made up for lost years, don't you think? Partners like we always planned." That night, as Emma and I drove home from the wedding, my daughter asked, "Do you believe in fate, Mom?" I glanced at her, this wise child who had orchestrated a reunion I'd thought impossible. "I'm starting to," I answered honestly. "I think the dress was waiting," she said, her voice drowsy with cake and dancing and the lateness of the hour. "All those years in the closet. It was waiting for the right moment to bring you two back together." Perhaps she was right. Perhaps some connections are too strong to be severed completely, lying dormant until the perfect moment to reawaken. Or perhaps it was simpler than that: a teenage girl's curiosity, a mother's nostalgia, a dress that carried memories too powerful to be forgotten. 6 months later, Carolyn and I sat in our shared office, the walls freshly painted, our nameplates side by side on the door. On the credenza behind my desk stood a framed photo of Emma in that burgundy dress, her smile knowing, triumphant, ready for the client meeting. Caroline asked, handing me a coffee, 2 sugars, no cream, just as I'd always taken it. Born ready, I replied, feeling the truth of those words deep in my bones. Sometimes the universe has a way of bringing back what truly belongs to you. Sometimes it takes a vintage dress, a resourceful teenager, and a coincidence that feels too perfect to be random. And sometimes, just sometimes, you get a second chance to reclaim a friendship that helped shape who you are. The dress now hangs in Emma's closet, no longer hidden away in a garment bag. She wears it for special occasions, each time reminding us of how a single night changed the trajectory of our lives. It's no longer just my dress, or Caroline's gift. It's become a symbol of our reconnection, our resilience, our ability to find our way back to each other, despite everything that tried to keep us apart. Life rarely gives perfect closure or neat endings. Relationships fray, misunderstandings grow, and sometimes the people we thought would be in our lives forever drift away without explanation. But occasionally, if we're very lucky, we get a plot twist so unexpected, so perfectly timed, that it reminds us why we should never give up on the connections that once meant everything to us. Because sometimes, the end of the story hasn't been written yet. Sometimes, there are still pages waiting to be filled. And sometimes, all it takes is a dress from the back of a closet to remind us that the most important chapters might still lie ahead. If this story touched your heart today, remember that there are countless untold stories of misunderstandings, reconciliations, and unexpected reunions happening all around us. Every family has its secrets, every friendship its tests, and every relationship its turning points. What plot twist might be waiting in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever reconnected with someone important after years apart? What brought you back together? I read every comment and love hearing your stories. If you enjoyed this tale of friendship reclaimed, make sure you're subscribed to Plot Twist Life for more stories that remind us how quickly life can change when we least expect it. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. And check out the pinned comment for another incredible story of relationships transformed by unexpected circumstances. Until next time, remember that sometimes the most beautiful beginnings come disguised as endings.